Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Srimati Sridhar with the World Bank, and today we're going to learn more about one of the key new financial instruments in IDA's toolkit, and it's called hybrid capital. Now, to learn more about hybrid capital and how it works and why it's so important, I'm delighted to be joined by Elaine Su. She's a senior financial officer in the Development Finance Vice Presidency of the World Bank. So, Elaine, to kick things off, can you tell me what exactly is hybrid capital and how is it different from, say, a loan or a grant?
So hybrid capital essentially kind of sits in the middle between a loan and a grant. Hybrid capital is an instrument that has both debt and equity features. So hybrid capital by IDA is structured as a perpetual debt instrument with a small fixed rate coupon. So it does not have a principal repayments because it's perpetual with no maturity date. And it has equity-like features, such as the ability to cancel coupon payment or convert to member subscriptions or donor contributions. Now, in contrast, a typical loan is a pure debt that would require repayments in full over time with interests. And a grant, on the other hand, is interest-free and with no repayments.
What does it allow IDA to do that it couldn't before?
Hybrid capital is actually very useful for IDA, very powerful actually. So because hybrid capital is structured to have 100% equity recognition under IDA's capital adequacy framework, as such, it can increase IDA's total capital and allow IDA to leverage and lend more. So hybrid capital is actually a new innovation introduced in IDA21. So it allows IDA to offer an attractive or new alternatives for contributing to IDA. And it can also be interesting to non-sovereign partners such as philanthropies, foundations, because it can amplify the development impacts of their money.
Oh, that's amazing. And I think hybrid capital and then portfolio guarantee platform are the two new instruments in the IDA21 cycle. Yeah, we're talking about that as well in one of our episodes. So it's good to see what the difference is between these two instruments. Talk to me more about how hybrid capital is ultimately benefiting countries that receive IDA support.
Well, it benefits the countries receiving IDA support by allowing IDA to lend more with more than one-to-one effects. So it's estimated that 100 million hybrid capital can support close to 170 million IDA21 financing volumes. So that's actually a similar leveraging power as grant contributions.
If you had to explain the value of hybrid capital to someone outside of the World Bank, what would you say that value was, and in one sentence?
I would say hybrid capital provides a flexible, budget-conscious, and impactful way to support IDA so that it can support the most vulnerable people in the world.
Well, thank you, Elaine, for joining me and for explaining more about hybrid capital and how it works in the larger development landscape, and particularly for IDA. Appreciate your time.
Sure, you're welcome.
Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.